Okay, so this is going to, every lesson I give you is a blessing. You're welcome. Welcome to a Dirty Folks Facebook rant. Today's rant is about, it all comes back to tribalism really, but here's the thing. So right here, I'll put this to the camera so you can see it. This is a letter for a class action lawsuit against labor forces, right? Now, quick story. So in 2012, 2011, I dissolved Crusader Publishing. The book money just slowed up. Like, they shut down the Borders and Barnes and Nobles. Ebooks really don't pay like they say. I didn't get a movie deal when I met Spike Lee. So I was like, yo, I'm just going to go ahead, and use this college degree, right? But we know how useless college degrees are. So you still need money in the interim. So I go out and I worked at a temp agency for a hot second, right? MVP, right? For maybe 2 months. Me and my little cuz, and sometimes it's hit and miss, right? So then I got a gig, then I started doing other things. So that was that, right? In 2015, I get shot. I'm on bed rest almost a year. Ain't no money coming in. Around that same time, around 2016, because the teachers go on strike every 4 years, right? So around 2016, they had changed the teaching pay schedule, right? Since before, teachers used to get paid all through the summer, even when they didn't work, right? They had a furlough, they'd take out every check and pay you during the summer. They stopped doing that in 2016. They added to the bi-weekly checks, but they didn't pay teachers over the summer if the teachers didn't teach summer school, right? So 2016, I'm trying to get back in the groove. My body finally, well enough to come back outside. And me and my teacher friend was like, yo, let's go to the temp agency over the summer, get some bread. I'm like, yeah, because I got to cop a new whip. I can't get money if I can't get around. And we went to a different temp agency somewhere in Cicero, right? Never had work for us, though. Mexicans working like a motherfucker. Never had work for the blacks, right? I remember being so frustrated, not at the lack of opportunity. I was frustrated at the fact that how the baby boomers failed us, right? How when black youth need a job, they have to go through some type of church program to get put on a church van, to get shipped to some warehouse somewhere. But Mexicans had whole employment centers. You didn't have to be part of the church. They didn't have to use a nonprofit program. They didn't have to find a stipend. Nobody had to go to Father Flager to beg for money to hire your kids. Mexicans just got the contracts. They did what they had to do and got the contracts. And I was like, yo, baby boom was slipping. And for a hot second, I was trying to do that, but it's hard to organize. It's hard to organize people on the grassroots. God bless the people who can, but dumb niggas frustrate the shit out of me. Anyway, so we played around with that for the summer of 2016, right? So once again, new gig, forgot about it. Life goes on. So maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. This is right before the corona hit. So maybe a month ago, my friend hit me. He was like, yo, I got a letter from the temp agency we was at in 2016 saying, man, when no black people getting hired, they had the Mexicans were sanctioning. They were bringing in people that had no paperwork, people on green cards, People with no IDs. They taking the money, they paying Mexicans under the table. And I told him in real time, I was like, yo, they took care of their people. He said, yeah, man, but that was illegal. It's a class action suit. Jump on in, right? Okay, cool. That's all right. If it's some free money out here, I'll snatch some free money. Then I go to the mail today, and I see this letter, and these people talking about MVP Class Claims Administration comes back and says, yo, if you black and you worked from the X amount of time, if you ever applied and didn't get a position, it's some money for you. I'm not about to yell racism. It's racist, but I'm not about to yell racism. I'm about to yell tribalism. I've been dealing with contracts for a long time. 20 years. 20 years of doing contracts. 20 years of setting up tribal zone codes. 20 years of setting up various LLCs, S Corps. 20 years. In these 20 years that I've been doing my thing, and I've been asking people to come on aboard, all I hear in my head is, what about the cameras? It's an inside joke. I tell you real quick, this is an inside joke to what about the cameras. We used to go in back in the day when TCF was sweet. We used to bounce checks at TCF. And we used to tell these lame niggas, you need some money, man. Go on to TCF, cash these checks. And they'd be like, what about the cameras? I'm like, motherfucker, what about the cameras? You ain't robbing them. You bouncing. You know what I'm saying? You bounce the check, you bounce the fuck out. So what about the cameras is always our way of saying, you don't really want it. You don't really want this though. You know what I'm saying? Because you worried about stuff you ain't got to worry about. And back then, they was using VHS tapes. Like, by the time this shit come back, dog, they didn't reuse the tape, man. Don't even worry about that. But, people more scared of success than they are failure, right? So, through these 20 years that I've been doing contract law, doing contracts, not contract law. These 20 years I've been doing contracts and been setting up these tribal alliances, I've noticed how everybody else takes care of their people. When we do the contracting work, because for a while I did property management. The Lithuanians and Polacks run construction. And now the Mexicans are getting into that. Blacks been here. Y'all always talk about, we built this country on our backs. We did all this on our backs. But when these opportunities come, there's no organization. There's just protest parades. Because there's no tribal pride. Because black in a tribe is a crayon, right? There's no flag, no special handshake, no logo, no pledge, no creed. There's nothing to be black. No order, discipline, no nothing. To be black don't have as much criteria as it does to be GD on the street. It's not a tribe. Y'all just false flagging for a crayon. But anyway. But when other groups move in, they move in as a tribe. They move in with people who are already specialized in what it is that they do. Right? So the game on contracting is you have to have enough money to be able to last for 60 to 90 days before you get a check. To put this in layman's terms, right? If you find a job that pays bi-weekly, when they hire you, you don't get paid the day they hire you. You don't get paid on your first day of work. You have to work 2 weeks, then wait a third week to get a 1 week check for the first week you worked on the pay period. And if it's bi-weekly and you fall into the bi-weekly, you may have to work a month in order to get that first 2 week check. So if that's how your payroll works, just imagine contracting like that, but it's 60 to 90 days out. So you may have to work 2 or 3 months before they cut their quarterly check, because corporations cut checks quarterly, right? So can you last a quarter paying your personnel, paying for your equipment, paying for your insurance, your licenses, all that, in order to get the contract? The truth of the matter is, probably could if you had a bunch of people on the team that say, all right, we'll starve with you for 2 months, or we'll take the least and you just, compensate us when a big check comes. But everything, when you're not tribal, when you don't have that, everything is instant gratification. So I look at these Mexicans, how these Mexicans go to every single, they have an agent that goes to every single warehouse and says, yo, we bring a benefit to you. The benefit that we bring to you is your warehouse job is $15 an hour, right? Plus insurance, benefits, maybe a 401k or something. Tell you what, we'll staff your company for you, and you won't have to pay any of that. You won't have to pay the insurance. You won't have to pay for 401k. You'll still have to pay $15 an hour, but you won't have to pay any of the extenuating stuff, right? And we'll staff however many people you need whenever you need, right? And they say, cool, that's a good deal. And it is a good deal, right? And then they'll tell the people who need a job, they'll tell them, okay, we have a job for $12 an hour. You don't know that the job's worth $15. You just say, wow, it's a job for $12 an hour. So the staffing company gets $3 an hour for your labor, right? But you wasn't working, period, so it's good for you. They found you a job. They getting compensated. It's cool for them. Everybody goes happy. But what they're saying is, since most of the staffing agencies are run by Mexicans, especially in Chicago, since they all run by Mexicans, Mexicans are tribal and they take care of their own, right? So it doesn't matter if you're there at 5 in the morning for a 7 a.m. assignment. If a Mexican get there at 6:30, they going on that 7 a.m. assignment because they take care of their people first, right? The hierarchy goes, no matter how the hierarchy goes, the hierarchy will go, because you'll really see white people at a temp agency. The hierarchy will go Mexican, white, black woman, black man, right? Because no matter what, the man has to be sanctioned. And it's not even that they really like black women more than black men. Black women are just so much louder about it. And nobody really wants that type of drama, right? Nobody wants a protest parade. So now the chickens are coming home to roost. And someone filed a class action. Now here's how the class action works. The class action works, 3 people say, yo, they did me wrong. And then the judge says, well, or the attorney says, how many other people did they do wrong? So the more people you have on this class action suit, the more money you will get. And you will get the highest cut. So let's say, for instance, the cut is 60-40 and you sue them for $10 million. Those first 3 people will get the 60. So those 3 people will split $2 million apiece. And then the 40% will be spread out to the other 4 million, whatever, be spread out to everybody else that was on that sheet. So you made your class action lawsuit. If they sue for 10 million, if you're not part of the people who filed for it, your cut might be $35, right? Because the money got to balance out. And it's $35 more than you had, but you wasted time, opportunity, and resource at that time, right? So when I'm looking at these letters coming in and I'm getting these phone calls from friends and they all saying, yo, when we needed employment, when we wanted to work, the Mexicans kept us from working. That's sanctions. Nothing is more American than sanctioning black men. Nothing. Nothing is more American than making, I don't care if you got to set up minimum wage laws, registration laws, ID laws, whatever it takes. Nothing's more American than making sure the black men don't have money. that they can't earn a decent pay, or that it's more difficult for them to earn a decent pay. And that's American because there's no tribal alliance. There's no one who will say, yo, we ain't going. I don't mean militant. When I don't want to get too deep into the racial psychology of it, but generally speaking, when black people really stick together, it's for women and children. It's rarely for economics. But economics runs everything that will be provision for the women and children. It's kind of odd. It's always for political entitlement programs, but it's never to pull pistols on the politicians, never to set up a pack by a politician. The game is so much deeper. But yeah, I found that interesting. Honestly, I want to shout out to the Mexicans. I want to shout out to the white boys too. I've had talks. I'm not gonna name who I had to talk with because he's kind of popular, and I don't want to put him on Front Street. It was a confidential conversation, but we had a conversation about a month or so back, and he said, "Man," because I said, "Man, I never really felt racism." I said, "Man, I feel secondhand racism, but I never felt direct racism. Like, get out of here, nigger. Go ahead, monkey." I heard it from Mexicans. Never heard it from a white person. I heard it from Mexicans. Fucking Mexicans. But then again, Mexicans also offered me a 13-5 deal, and I don't move like that. So it depends on the Mexican. But I was like, man, you notice everybody else invests in black intelligence, and blacks only invest in black entertainment. And he was like, yeah. And we had all these stories about how we used to be kids. And I remember when I was growing up, I thought Boston was the most racist city on earth. I went to Boston, and a white guy saw me and immediately was like, man, you a young, articulate, smart man. He's like, yo, you must be out here for a reason. He said, man, I'll help you get it. He said, man, he was a hiring agent. This dude was like the VP of Polaroid or Kodak, one of the film companies out in Boston. He was like, man, look, I'll give you an apartment and a job right now. And you work the job and I just deduct from the apartment until you pay me my money back. Like, man, because apparently what you're doing to be out here in Boston and what you need to be doing, I'll take a chance on you. And when I look, I always say, man, who hires you? Like, people talk this racism shit, this Mr. Charlie shit. Who hires you? White men, gay white men especially. Mexicans, after they finish hiring all the rest of the Mexicans. Sometimes black dudes, you know what I'm saying, especially for blue collar work. I tell people all the time, man, if I ever go to a job interview and I see a black woman, I know I'm not going to get the job. I just get the water and leave. Because that is sanctions. That's my neighbor. I like my neighbor and all. I cut her grass and shovel her snow for her because she the neighbor. And she'll tell me, and I'm like, yo, why don't you hire one of my little dudes? Because I mentored the little boys. Like, man, why don't you hire one of my little guys to cut your grass, shovel your snow? And she's like, I hire a Mexican before I hire a nigga. Self-sanctioned, right? I already know how to really feel about me. Just dick and attention. For real. But it is what it is. So it is what you make it. Which is part of tribalism. Which is part of tolerology. Take the course. So, I just want to say all that to say this. So, if you was part of MVP, if you ever worked at MVP, temp agency, or any other temp agency in the Chicagoland area, they got some bread for you, bro. Because they know they've been putting you on sanctions. But I got some game for you. Tribe up and you won't have to worry about sanctions. There's enough bread out here for everybody to eat. I need y'all to understand that every time y'all looking at these articles talking about some nigga done paid for 300 bitches in a project's rent. You know project rent ain't number $18. You paid $318. You paid $6,000 for 300 units. And that's cool. Don't get it twisted. That's all love. But if you got that bread to save women and children, then you got that bread for a structure and infrastructure to feed dudes so they can feed their own families, so these women and children won't need a helping hand, wait for a Derrick Rose to play basketball his whole life and then give back to the hood. You feel what I'm saying? Because nobody owe nobody nothing but opportunity. But when you tribal, you make those opportunities for your people and then y'all build. You shouldn't have to keep building. I shouldn't have to keep building with Mexicans and whites and, you know what I'm saying, and whoever else going town to town, motherfuckers South Dakota, Houston, Waterloo, Iowa, all type of shit, just to come back to the crib and listen to motherfuckers tell me how, man, I'm on, I don't fuck with them. Nigga, you ain't take that trip. Right now, and I've said this a lot of times, there is a profit in all adversity. All adversity. When the Colin Kaepernick thing happened and everybody said, we need our own league, we created the Linecoin League. And people say, oh my God, that's so ghetto. What was basketball when it started? A motherfucker shooting a medicine ball into a peach basket? What was football? A bunch of country boys trying to chase a pig? That's why they call it pigskin. Because they stopped trying to chase the pig and was like, okay, we just going to get a ball and and they modified the rules. But now you saying our shit, get the fuck out of here. Right now, we looking for people to come out here and say, yo, I like what you're doing. I see what you're doing. And stop clapping and be like, yo, how can we help? Because I tell them motherfucker in a minute, dog, look, we looking for sponsors, man. Go up to the car dealership. If they cut a check for $25,000, get $2,500. I don't give a shit. Everybody eats, but everybody got to work and has to be a structure and an infrastructure to do so. I don't share those opportunities willy-nilly anymore because once I realized that, man, everything belongs to the tribe, it wasn't a reason for me to share everything with the world. You know what I'm saying? You just tribe up and give opportunities to the tribe. But that's all that employment service is. Motherfuckers that went out there and got it, found opportunities for their people. They went out there looking for opportunities for their people, found opportunities for their people, and then the government said, well, if you do it for one person, you gotta do it for all people. So it's like, all right, we'll do it for all people, and we'll just sanction the ones we don't really want, and we still gonna take care of our people. Y'all can call that racist. I call that tribing like a motherfucker. Y'all ain't gonna get it till you get it. So y'all in FEMA camps trying to tribe up to get about that bitch, and the girl you love is the one telling the motherfuckers y'all trying to get away. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about that. Love each other as you love yourself. Feed the pack. Take the tolerology course, man. I'll put the link in comments. I'm out.